Hey, this is John, author of the Cabin Owner's Manual. I want to talk to you today about a conversation I had with a friend of mine last night. We were at Vacation Bible School, and afterwards I was outside working on the computer. And he walked up to me and he said, "Hey, John, my neighbor's house just went up for sale." He said, "It's kind of expensive. It's a little bit more than I thought. It's about $670,000. He said, "Is that price ridiculous right now?" So I went through and looked it up and found out how many square feet it was and found out what price was per square foot, and was looking at the different amenities. And long story short, it was actually a little high, but pretty close to what I would have priced it at. It's about a 4,000 square foot home. So at any rate, he says, "My goodness, that seems crazy." He said, "Why in the world has real estate gone up that much in such a short period of time?" He just bought his house a couple years ago for way less than that. So at any rate, obviously his house is smaller, by the way, so it wouldn't appraise at the same amount. But he said, what causes real estate to go up? What causes it to be expensive? What sets the market value? And I looked at him and said, "Dave, that's a long story." I said, "One day we need to go sit down at lunch and I can just tell you the whole story." But Dave's a very intelligent man. Has been around, sold several houses, bought several houses. I know he knows what he's talking about, but he was actually specifically speaking more about cabins. Now, as you guys know, appreciation happens, and you buy a property, and the longer it sits there and the longer you take care of it, the more value it has, because it would cost that much to build a new one. That's one way of looking at it. But there's more than just that. Typically speaking, and this is what I tell most people, typically speaking, real estate value follows the job market. So if there are lots of jobs in the area that are paying very well, then real estate is going to be more expensive, because it's going to be more scarce. Because the better jobs there are, the higher paying jobs there are, the more it's going to cost to live there, because people are going to want to hold on to the assets that they have. In our area of the world, that's not the case. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park has been around for decades now, and it has brought in a lot of visitors to our area. In fact, I talked to a friend of mine that works at the city of Pigeon Forge back not too long ago. He told me that last year there were 11 million people drove through the city of Pigeon Forge, and 3 million people stayed overnight. So that is an inflation that comes not because of the job market, but because of the tourism. And so because you have that many people coming, it really increases the value of the property. For instance, let's say that you lived in a rural city that had 10,000 people that lived there, and you got maybe 10,000 people, maybe 100,000 people visited a year. Well, then you would have some motels and hotels and some places for people to stay. And if you had a big event that you put on every year, like a big parade or something people came to, there would be a little bit more of that market. Excuse me. However, we have about 100,000 people that live in Sevier County, and we get 11 million visitors through the city of Pigeon Forge a year. That is a big difference. And so because of that, there is a big market. 3 million people stay overnight. That's a lot of people that stay overnight in a small area. So that drives the value of our cabins up. Now, since the fires of 2016, obviously, they burned 2,500 structures or something like that. It has there's been a boom on cabins needing to be built, and so there's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of people buying cabins. To be honest with you, in my opinion, I think cabin prices are inflated, but there's a demand, and as long as there's a demand, the prices are going to be inflated. So what I tell people is there are 3 values for cabins, and this is how it works. Number 1, there's the market value, and that's what that is set by the invisible hand of the market, so to speak. And people look at it and, well, this cabin sold for this much, and so this cabin sold for this much. And market value really is set off this is the definition, what a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay, and a ready, willing, and able seller will take for a piece of property. And that's really what market value is. Now, value number 2 is what I call the business value. I run a couple businesses, and if I wanted to sell one, I would not sell it based off of the equipment that I own and the assets that the business has. I would sell it based off of an EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. There we go. And so that's the way a business runs. Now, if you look at a cabin as a business, it's not going to be the same numbers that the market value has. So that's another thing to look at. The third value is what we call the wow value, or the experience value. And what that is, somebody comes in and they see a view, or they see this beautiful cabin tucked back in a hollow with just green and gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And they say, I want that cabin. I want to have Christmas there. I want to have Thanksgiving there, or we want to have a family vacation there, or whatever it is. It just tugs on their heart, and so they're buying it based off of emotions, really, is what it comes down to. Now, that value does carry weight. However, you can't sell that value, because that value is only going to be used. In other words, whenever you buy something with a wow, or the experience value is the main emphasis, you should use it and get the value out of it that way, because somebody else may not see that same property the same way. So at any rate, that's just a basic overview of what I explained to Dave. There are 3 values: the market value, the business value, and what we call the wow, or the experience value. And that's just something that I would like for you guys to know, because it makes it easier to look at buying or selling cabins that you want to keep. So if you have more questions, please call us, contact us, let us know. We'd love to help you with it. And I'd love to sell cabins to you. That's what we do here. Well, at Marty Loveday and Associates, I'm a realtor for Marty Loveday and Associates. And then at the Cabin Owner's Manual, we work on them and work with them and help people figure out and coach people through buying cabins and how to get the most out of them. So if you need help with cabins in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, look us up. I'm John Suttles, author of the Cabin Owner's Manual. Have a good day.